Hello, this is Liz, and welcome to Wednesday. I had to think about that for a moment. I hope you're all doing well, and today is the day that I recommend videos as to what's available on Amazon Prime. So yesterday was Netflix, today is Amazon Prime, which I'm sure if you've watched this before, you've heard me say like Prime is my favorite because of all the weird stuff it has. However, I know that not everyone likes the weird underground stuff, so I'm here to give you a few more mainstream picks. But the first thing I'm going to start with in terms of a binge worthy show is going to be the entire reason that I signed up for Amazon Prime in the first place, and that is because it has all of the seasons of Unsolved Mysteries. So when I was a kid and would stay up with my grandparents in Sonobe, they only had three channels, and one of the things we'd watch every Saturday night would be Unsolved Mysteries. So definitely a nostalgia thing for me. I think that other than America's Most Wanted, that was the first big mainstream true crime show. So if you're a true crime fan, or if you also just like strange true stories and sometimes it gets into the paranormal, but if you just like weird unsolved stuff, and sometimes stuff turns out to be solved, Unsolved Mysteries is great. I mean, I can turn on any episode and just be like, okay, tell me what's going to happen, Robert Stack. Tell me this weird unsolved story. So if you want something to binge and you also don't need to keep track of every episode, Unsolved Mysteries is for you. On to movies. The first I'm going to recommend is a dramedy that has a real life inspiration, and that is The Big Sick. So this stars Kumail Nanjiani, who you probably will know from Silicon Valley, and later this year, if we ever get to go to the movies again, you will know from The Eternals. And it is about his relationship with his wife, Emily Gordon. She helped write the screenplay for this movie. And it's about when they started dating, she got really sick, and he basically got to bond with her parents that way. It's a very sweet little movie. Ray Romano and Holly Hunter are also in it. It's really cute. I would definitely recommend it if you want something that has a romantic angle, but also has a little bit of reality to it as well. The next one I'll recommend is an Australian film from 1981 and stars, at the time, a fairly unknown Mel Gibson, and that is the movie Gallipoli. So another movie that has a real life inspiration. This is about a battle during World War One. Great movie if you're into war movies, but you want both a perspective if you want a perspective that hasn't been done, Gallipoli is a great film to watch. And again, it is interesting to see Mel Gibson like pretty much when he had his Australian accent. It's the same watching the original Road Warrior movies. You're like, oh yeah, that's right, he's Australian. So highly recommend Gallipoli as well. And I was very pleasantly surprised to see that that's streaming on Prime. If you're looking for something foreign, but you have to read subtitles, I would recommend The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Swedish movies. I actually was lucky enough to see the first and second one in theaters because I lived in Boston at the time, and I know that Rooney Mara was great in the David Fincher version, but Noomi Rapace will always be my Lisbeth Salander. She just embodies that role so well, and to the point where I'm kind of sad she didn't become a bigger star in America, but I think there's a language barrier there. But if you want to see, in my opinion, the better adaptation of the Millennium series than the US version, not that the US version is bad, I just think the Swedish one's better. These movies are great. All three of them are on Prime. Fun fact, they were actually television films in Sweden, which content-wise is a little like, all right, when did these air? But still very good films to watch, and if you want to see a great portrayal of a good fictional character, Noomi Rapace is fantastic. She is worth watching the movie. So on to stuff that's a little bit lighter. The first one I'm going to recommend is Fast Color. This came out last year. It's independent film. It's a superhero movie. It's about a woman who has a power. She doesn't quite know how to control it. And so this is kind of her journey to figure out how to get it under control. So this is a superhero movie that has a little bit more of a weight and drama to it than your typical Marvel film. But if you want the typical Marvel stuff, don't worry. And this actually shocked me when I went through. Captain America: The First Avenger is on Amazon Prime, probably because it wasn't a complete Disney production at that point. So who knows if it's going to be there for long. If you want to watch Chris Evans grab the shield again, go on Prime. Captain America's there. Up next is going to be a big favorite pick of mine. I am not a huge fan of the Talking Heads. However, I am a big fan of the concert documentary Stop Making Sense. Directed by Jonathan Demme. He had made a few films before that had kind of hit it big. Actually, his movie Melvin and Howard ended up getting Mary Steenburgen an Oscar in 1980. But this was the movie that really solidified him as this is a filmmaker to watch. It's a great concert film. Again, even if you're not a huge Talking Heads fan, you are going to be completely drawn into this. I think it's the standard that all other concert films are held to. Up next, underseen comedy that I really enjoyed called Morning Glory. It stars Rachel McAdams, Diane Keaton, and Harrison Ford. It's basically a behind-the-scenes comedy about a morning show. I think it's really fun. Harrison Ford, when you get him in a comedy, I think people forget how funny he can be. You get him in a good comedy, he's fantastic. And I think Rachel McAdams is an incredibly underappreciated actress. So if you never saw Morning Glory, watch it. It's a good way to spend like 100 minutes of your time. So the final two movies I'm going to recommend are my two picks of the day. The first is going to be Leave No Trace. This came out about 2 years ago. I think it's a wonderful movie. I played up at the Red River in Concord. That's where I saw it. And it's about a young woman named Thomasin who lives in the woods with her father. They're foragers. You get it. The father is a former soldier. You get a sense that he definitely has PTSD or something, but they just like to live off the land. But it's actually really a maturation story for Thomasin because as she finally gets integrated into society, she starts to realize not that her father's way of life might be wrong, but just that she personally doesn't want to live that way. So it's really about her kind of having her own independence. The final movie that I'm going to recommend, and I'm so glad it's on Prime because I think this is an American classic, is the movie Reds. So if you've never heard about this movie, it was written and directed by Warren Beatty. It's definitely a passion project for him. And it's about Jack Reed around the time he wrote the book, 10 Days That Changed the World. And Warren Beatty had a lot of success recently, so he had a lot of clout to make whatever movie he wanted. And man, you have to imagine what the studio heads were thinking where he goes, okay, I want to make a movie about the early communist movement in the 1900s. And they probably were like, is this going to make any money? It actually didn't end up making money, and it did really well at the Oscars. It won Best Director for Beatty, and personally, my favorite award for this is Best Supporting Actress, which is Maureen Stapleton is Emma Goldman. It's a good movie. It's fairly, I think, even-handed as a biopic. No one is portrayed as completely good or completely bad. In the second half of the film is all about Jack Reed and a lot of his cohorts' complete disillusionment with the Bolsheviks in the USSR. It's a lot of time to invest in a movie, 3.5 hours, but I think it's great. Performances alone, aside from the aforementioned Warren Beatty and Warren Stapleton, you have Diane Keaton as Louise Bryant, and you have Jack Nicholson, one of my favorite actors, as Eugene O'Neill. So yeah, Prime just continues to be a treasure trove of lost classics and hidden gems. And I hope that you enjoy, you'll check out at least one of them, and I'll see you tomorrow with What's on Hulu. Have a great day.